grabbing space in the center. The dark squared bishop is ready to be developed. The Indian games are a collection of openings defined by this move. White develops the knight toward the center. This prepares to fianchetto the dark squared bishop, where it will sit on the long diagonal. White prepares to fianchetto the light squared bishop too, so that it will control the center from the long diagonal. This puts the bishop on the long diagonal in a move called a fianchetto. White puts the bishop on the long diagonal in a move called a fianchetto. With this move, black fights back against central space. This is a fair move. A strong fork hits two targets at the same time. This blocks the check from an opposing queen. Castling gets the king out of the center of the board. White develops the knight and supports the center. That was a free pawn. This attacks a queen, winning a tempo when it moves away. This move puts the queen on a safer square. That's not a mistake, but it's not the best move either, developing the knight and increasing influence in the center. Both kings are castled and ready for the middle game. This prepares the bishop for development. That's fine. The rooks can see each other now, allowing them to provide mutual defense. The bishop is kicked by a pawn and must now move or be captured. This calmly removes the bishop from an immediate threat. This calmly removes the queen from an immediate threat. This is not the right idea. The bishop is kicked by a pawn and must now move or be captured. This misses a better way to move a bishop to safety. Great find, this was the only move that works. This offers to exchange pieces of equal value. The better move was to move a queen to safety. A clear recapture. A discovered attack from black targets the pawn. The better move was to add a defender to a vulnerable pawn. The piece finds a new active square. This defends the attacked knight. Right on target. White's bishop has moved to a square with greater activity and control. After all captures, this is an equal trade. With this recapture, White introduces a new piece to the game. Doubling the rooks is now a real possibility for black. White's piece has moved to a square with greater activity and control. Kicking off a pawn storm, White launches a pawn advance, pushing toward the opponent's king. There were worse moves, but also something much better. This is not the right idea. A solid choice. This is the strongest option. A strong choice. This mobilizes the knight, allowing it to control more of the board. That was a free pawn. Only one good move here, and you spotted it. That pawn was free for the taking. Great find. This was the only move that works. The queen was sacrificed. A stunning move. This places the rook on the 7th rank, where it can be highly active. The best option was to sacrifice a knight for a nice tactic. This permits the opponent to move a queen to a more active position. This took advantage of a mistake, and White now has a winning advantage. White's piece has moved to a square with greater activity and control. This move steps the queen out of danger and keeps material balance. This wins a tempo by threatening a queen and forcing it to move away. This calmly removes the queen from an immediate threat. This is a fair move. The pawn is now adequately defended. The bishop finds a new active square. This creates a counter threat against the queen, as opposed to retreating. This maintains the balance in material with a good trade. Right on target. Only one good move here, and you spotted it. This defends the attacked pawn. The rook is now on an open file, which helps control squares across the board. Very strong play. This threatens to take an outpost with the knight. That pawn was free for the taking. The knight now occupies a secure outpost. The better move was to activate a rook by getting it to the 7th rank. This move steps the rook out of danger and keeps material balance. Great find. This was the only move that works. White reinforces the passed pawn. This is the strongest option. This moves the bishop to a more active square, making it gain scope. The bishop finds a new active square. One of the best moves. This moves the bishop to a better location, allowing it to control more squares. The passed pawn moves towards its goal. An active king is critical in the endgame, and getting it off of the back rank is the first step. Giving up the exchange leads to a strategically unbalanced position. That rook was free for the taking. White eliminates the black's passed pawn, removing a future threat. A strong choice. That's not a mistake, but it's not the best move either, putting the bishop on a blockade square. This takes an open file, a common method for activating a rook. A solid choice. Right on target. Very strong play. One of the best moves. This is the strongest option. This attacks black's pawn chain. After all captures, this is an equal trade. A clear recapture. Black's bishop has moved to a square with greater activity and control. A strong choice. This moves the bishop to a better location, allowing it to control more squares. This forces the opponent to get an isolated pawn on a semi-open file. A straightforward recapture. Right on target. This blocks the attack on a pawn that could have been captured. A solid choice. The piece finds a new active square. The bishop finds a new active square. This steps away from the checking bishop. With this move, White fights back against central space. The rook is now on an open file, which helps control squares across the board. This move steps the bishop out of danger and keeps material balance. This is the strongest option. This blocks the check from an opposing rook.